Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Be Your Best. My name is Josh Clark, and today we're going to talk about the last mile. You see, anybody can start a race. You know, the world is full of people who have started projects and set out to achieve things like fitness goals and weight loss goals and businesses and learning languages and writing books and you name it, they've started it. And yes, it is true that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the very first step. So you have to start the race in order to even have an opportunity to go the last mile. But the reality is most people give up on achieving their best or give up entirely before the last mile. They never go the last distance. And so I want to challenge not just you, but me as well. You know, that we don't give in and give up just because things get challenging, just because we lose that first 10 pounds and then we start to say, you know what, I think I want to go back to the old ways. This is too challenging. Or maybe we go through a spell where we're not losing the weight as quickly, or maybe it's the fitness challenge, maybe it's the business we set out to build and to grow. You see, every time we write down a why and we set goals, there's this exciting anticipation, at least most of the time, about what it would feel like to finish that race. Yet the reality is, when we get in the race, and let me tell you from experience, I've run cross country and track and coached cross country and track and run, 5Ks and 10Ks and marathons and triathlons. And I share that with you to say this. I know from experience, and I'm sure you do too, you can relate in one way or another, that when you get in that race and you get down to the last mile, that's when all the pain starts to set in. You eagerly start out from the start line, full of energy and excitement. And then at some point during the race, before the last mile, pain starts to set in, and it starts to become difficult to breathe, and maybe that pain in your side, or you have an injury, or something happens, and all of a sudden, at that moment, we're faced with a decision. Will we give our very best? Will we push through? Yes, the excuses that come to mind are legitimate excuses, if you will. We can go home and we can tell what happened. We can tell about what appeared to roadblock, and we can describe it as a roadblock that caused us. We just couldn't go any further. We just couldn't do it. Somebody quit in our business. Somebody, we couldn't get the financing, the funding that we needed. But the question is, will we go the last mile? Let me tell you a story about two individuals who went the last mile and didn't give up and didn't give in. And the first story is Mo Farah. Mo won the gold medal in both the 5,000 meter and the 10,000 meter, making himself the second person to do it in two Olympics back to back. He did the same thing. But yet in 2016, he faced huge obstacles when he fell down in a race that would end up being decided by less than half a second, y'all. This is less than half a second. So he crashes in a group of runners and hits the ground hard. And yet he decides in that moment, he has to decide, what will he do? Will he give in, throw in the towel, knowing that he was going for gold? That was his goal? Nothing short of that? Would he just quit? Would he just give in? Would he just skip back on the race and do a token finish? Well, he was asking himself those questions. First decision was to get back in the race, and he did. And then he kept saying to himself, the race is over. The race is over. The pack is already ahead. There's no possible way. There's no physical way that I could win the gold. And then he went back to his why. Why did he set out to win that gold in the first place? And his why was to give that gold medal to his daughter. And so with that in mind, even though everything in him, the pain and the arguments of why it wasn't even possible were so strong, yet he decided he would go back to that why, and he would go through and he would do it anyway and give his best performance. And he discovered that he had it in him to finish the race and win by less than a half second and earn the gold. And then let me tell you a story of a college runner named Heather Dorniden. Heather was running in the track World Championship race, or championships. And she was running the 600 meter. Now that's a short race, right? And she fell down the last 200 meters. Now again, in a race of this length and of this magnitude, the championship indoor track race, it would seem like it's not even possible. Okay, so just get back up and, okay, you can decide to go the last mile, to go the last distance, but of course she'd never win. But you know what happened? Because she chose to get back in the race, she discovered something inside that she never even knew existed. She discovered a strength, a speed, and extra gear to go the last 50 meters and win the race. It was featured on Good Morning America. It's been an inspiration to people all over the world. But see, the question for you and I is not can you go the last mile? See, I already know you can. The question is, will you? Or will you give up? And I'll tell you, it makes me sad feeling the emotions right now knowing that people are facing huge, seemingly overwhelming obstacles. But see, you have another speed. You just don't even know yet. Maybe some of us have gotten out of the race. Maybe we set out at the beginning of the year to achieve something, and yet it didn't happen the way we planned. It didn't happen in the time frame that we set out to achieve it in. Some of us are thinking about quitting. Some of us have already quit. But I'm challenging you to get back on the field, to go back into the race and go the last mile. Because I believe in you, and I know that God has already given you and I everything we need, the unique gifts, talents, and abilities. It may be raw, but we can develop it, and we can go pursue our race and go our last mile. And if we don't, are you and I prepared to live with the pain of regret, knowing that we could have gotten back on the field, but we chose not to? Yes, we had great, perfectly legitimate excuses that we could give. But you know you got to get back on the field. And so my challenge to you is this. I want you to identify 3 challenges, 3 things that you set out to do. And I want you to decide right now. Resolve within yourself that you will go the last mile. And then pick up a friend, somebody who will hold you accountable, and put it on your mirror and look at it every day. And go the last mile. And I can't wait to celebrate with you. Now, if this video has encouraged you, you take a moment to share it with your friends and family, and together we can be a catalyst to change the world one person at a time as we go the last mile and inspire others that they can too. And now if you'd like to see other episodes of Be Your Best, you can go to my blog, beacatalyst.com, or subscribe to my podcast, Be Your Best with Josh Clark. Now go out and make it a super ultra awesome, fantastic day as you go the last mile. God bless.